Good evening, I'm Ces Oreña-Drilon.
I'm Pauline Verzosa.
And I'm Shawn Yao.
The big stories tonight. The impeachment process against President Bongbong Marcos is now underway as a House Justice panel deliberates in a few days on substance and form of the complaint.
Senators double down on their rebuke of Chinese diplomats supposedly attacking Filipino officials. Two ideas float: replace the Chinese ambassador and/or declare his deputy spokesperson persona non grata.
And Rodrigo Duterte's lawyer believes his client was denied due process and will appeal the ICC's ruling declaring the former president fit to stand trial.
I feel good kasi dapat lang naman talaga, alam naman namin talaga na walang dahilan para hindi mangyari ito. Kailangan pag-usapan na natin yung impeachment complaint, no, laban kay Pangulong Marcos Jr.
We are not supposed to proceed to the succeeding step kung hindi makakapasa dun sa standard ng sufficiency in form and sufficiency in substance.
Ang anumang pagsasampa ng impeachment complaint ay hindi lang ang Pangulo maapektuhan, kundi mismo ang bansa at ang ekonomiya.
The House Justice Committee has set the timeline for the impeachment process against President Bongbong Marcos.
Next week, the panel will begin deliberations on whether the consolidated complaint is sufficient in form and substance.
But even before the proceedings kick off, Malacanang is already warning about its impact on the country, even the economy. Mobile journalist Arles de los Santos with tonight's Big Story.
Verified complaint for impeachment against President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Two impeachment complaints against the president are now deemed initiated after the referral to the House Committee on Justice. One was filed by Attorney Andre De Jesus and endorsed by Pusong Pinoy Party List Representative Jet Nisay last January 19. The second complaint came from the group Bayan and endorsed by the Makabayan Bloc.
I feel good kasi dapat lang naman talaga, alam naman namin talaga na walang dahilan para hindi mangyari ito. Kailangan pag-usapan na natin yung nilalaman mismo ng impeachment complaint, no, laban kay Pangulong Marcos Jr. Dahil siya ang pangunahing responsable at direktang kasangkot sa walang kapantay na lawak at laki ng corruption dito sa flood control scandal.
The movement of the complaints to the Justice Panel also triggered the one-year bar rule, which means no other case can be filed afterwards within a year. The timelines have been set. The committee in charge will deliberate on the ouster efforts against the president next week, February 2 to 4. The two complaints will be consolidated, then the determination if they are sufficient in form and substance.
We are not supposed to proceed to the succeeding step kung hindi makakapasa dun sa standard ng sufficiency in form and sufficiency in substance. Kailangan pa rin ang committee report, but we will not be able to reach the succeeding steps.
Sufficient in form means the documents are complete and properly verified, with complainants accountable for the submission. Sufficient in substance, on the other hand, should show the complaint with clear recital of facts with details of alleged violation, establishing the committee's jurisdiction act on it. What if these criteria are not met? There is that possibility of immediate dismissal of the complaint, and it will take another year before a new complaint can be filed against the president. Mr. Marcos will be given 10 days to answer the complaints against him, and the complainants 3 days to respond. Now, if the grounds are found sufficient in form and substance, cross-examination and presentation of evidence and witnesses can commence. President Marcos can be summoned to the hearing, but it will be up to him to attend or forego that part of the proceedings. Under the rules, the committee has to submit its findings and recommendations within 60 session days. Then, the House plenary votes yes or no to impeach the president. It takes 1/3 of the lower chamber or at least 106 votes to declare Marcos impeached. If that comes to pass, the articles of impeachment will be sent to the Senate, which will constitute an impeachment court. This early, Malacanang is warning of the impact of any move to unseat the president.
Ginagalang po ng Pangulo kung ano man po ang mga activities ginagawa at mga desisyon po ng House of Representatives. So hayaan po natin ang proseso na umandar na naaayon sa batas. Ang anumang pagsasampa ng impeachment complaint ay hindi lang ang Pangulo maapektuhan, kundi mismo ang bansa at ang ekonomiya.
Kapatid Arles de los Santos, we are One News.
Let's discuss the impeachment process with our first guest tonight. And joining us, one of the framers of the 1987 Constitution, Attorney Rene Sarmiento. Welcome to the Big Story.
Yes, good evening. Maraming salamat po. Good evening, Shawn and Pauline.
Sir, para na tayong impeachment 101 ulit dito, may you give us what does it take to declare an impeachment complaint sufficient in form? Let's take the first one first, form, and then substance.
Okay, so naibanggit po kanina sa paliwanag what is sufficient in form and substance. Sufficient in form meaning verified. Ito po ay binanggit ng ating Korte Suprema, what is verified, meaning susumpaan po ng mga complainants na totoo ang mga complaints nila na tama po. So verified po, meaning notarized. Hindi po basta-basta ang statement or affidavit without notarization. Pangalawa po, sufficient and substance. Ibig sabihin, tama po ba, sapat ba ang katibayan ayon po sa narration of facts, then impeachment complaint. So ito po ang titingnan ng ating mga miyembro ng Committee on Justice na pinungunahan ni Congressman Leviste.
Okay, ngayon po, dalawa ang complaints na titignan nila. May mga nagduda sa unang complaint na it was meant more to shield the president rather than a real complaint. Pero they are now consolidated. How then would that affect the appreciation of the Justice Committee, sir?
Says that will be moot academic, yung sinasabing kulang yung first complaint because with the consolidation, magkasama na po yung dalawa, yung allegations po sa dalawang complaint filed by Attorney Andre at yung second by the Makabayan Black. So, iisa na po sila ngayon, consolidated na po.
All right. Now, ano po ang rules that will govern the proceedings dahil there is the belief that the Supreme Court ruling, the recent Supreme Court ruling somehow amended the procedure of the House, and that's still pending. The Supreme Court is taking its time with the MR. And so, paano po ang gagawin ng House of Representatives dito?
It says, as of today, we have to follow the rules of the Committee on Justice. Kasi po, pending pa until now ang decision ng Korte Suprema. It's not final and executory. There are 5 motions for reconsideration. Yung mga standards na ginamit po sa Duterte versus House ay hindi muna gagamitin dito po sa 2 impeachment complaints because this case is still pending up to the present.
Okay, but then the Senate last year used that ruling to archive the impeachment complaint against VP Sara. So hindi ho ba pwedeng erase rin yan ng mga mambabatas sa lower house?
Well, that is a possibility, says, yung archiving and therefore dismiss na ang complaint without referring to the Committee on Justice. That is a very possible argument that pwedeng erased nila. But as of today, we follow the rules of the Committee on Justice na nakita ko po sa screen. Ito po susundin po nila at hindi po yung desisyon ng Korte Suprema where new standards are set, new rules are set, which to me should be prospective in application.
Attorney Sarmiento, last week, we spoke to Justice Committee Chairwoman, si Congresswoman Leviste. Ang sabi niya kasi, yung motion for consideration na nakabinbin sa Korte Suprema, this has to do with the second mode, which is yung 1/3 of the House expedited complaint mode. But this time, they're just doing the first mode, which is yun nga, yung referral to the Justice Committee, etc., and so on and so forth. And she says, wala daw bearing yung paghahantay dito sa MR since ginagamit naman natin yung isa pang mode at hindi yung second mode. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, says clarification, there are three modes, not only two modes. There are three modes under the Constitution. One is the filing of a complaint verified by a member of the House. Number two is by a citizen endorsed by a House member. The third one, ito po yung binanggit ni Congressman Leviste, yung one-third of the members of Congress supporting the verified complaint or verified complaint filed against the impeachable officials. So there are three modes. So whether one or two, except for the three, they have to follow the rules set forth by the Committee on Justice.
So now that it is before the Justice Committee, and as we know, this is a numbers game naman po, it can easily be dismissed at the committee level, this impeachment complaint.
Says that is a very big possibility. I counted the members of the House Committee on Justice of the 19th Congress. Ilan po sila? Mahigit kumulang 30. There are several chairpersons, several vice chairpersons, members of the minority, members of the majority. So you are correct. Following the numbers game, kung sino po ang majority, kampi kay Presidente, kung marami sila, sigurado pong madidismiss po ang impeachment complaint.
Pero kung mailatag naman ng maganda ang kanilang basehan, ay pwede po bang magpalit ng isip itong mga members of the majority sa Justice Committee?
Well, again, that is a possibility assess, no? Yung pagbabago ng isip. Mismong Korte Suprema, nagbabago din ang isip nila. So, pwede i-grant yung motion for reconsideration. So, posible po mangyari sa Committee on Justice ang pagbabagong isip ng ating members of the Committee on Justice, though medyo kahirapan po because impeachment is a political process.
But Attorney, walk us through the timeline. Ano? If magbago man yung isip ng committee, how long do they have to do this?
Okay. So na-file po ang impeachment complaint Monday. So refer to the Committee on Justice. So that bars yung filing of subsequent complaints. And then within 10 days, 10 session days, refer to the committee, to the order included in the order of business. And then refer to the Committee on Justice. They have 60 session days to report to the plenary session about the result of their findings, and within 10 session days, the House has to decide on the impeachment complaint. 10, 60, and 10. That is the formula.
And would you say, Attorney, mas compliant na ngayon ng mga kongresista when it comes to the timing? Kasi yan din yung naging controversial in the 19th Congress, especially when the SecGen, the former SecGen, sat on the impeachment complaints against Vice President Sara. But now we see na mas mabilis yung pace nila. Is that how you also see it, Attorney?
Well, I think very sensitive na po sila. Ano po, ang ating mga kongresista, many of them are lawyers, nabasa po yung decision ng Korte Suprema, though not yet final. Well, sensitive na po sila, especially with the filing of the petitions for certiorari sa Supreme Court, raising these issues. I'm sure they are more discerning and more sensitive.
But Attorney, we're also looking at another impeachment complaint probably in the next week or week and a half. How do you see that moving forward? I think they're saying it's unprecedented. Do you recall such an event ever happening?
If they file another impeachment complaint after the referral to the Committee on Justice yesterday, January 27, yan po ay barred na po. That will not be entertained following the ruling of the Supreme Court in two cases, Francisco versus House, and then the case of Gutierrez versus House. So future impeachment complaints ay hindi na po pwede. Sarado na po ang pintuan ng House of Representatives.
What we mean is against VP Sara.
Okay.
And if I may add to the question of Shawn, did the Constitution framers see this happening? The highest leaders of the land being both facing impeachment complaints.
Well, ang nakalagay po sa ating saligang batas says President and Vice President. So sa ating kasaysayan, only presidents, no, ang nai-impeach. Vice President, mukhang wala pa tayo. Na kung sabay po ito, this is a milestone, a breakthrough, the first of its kind sa Philippine history. Only in the Philippines po, says.
Only in the Philippines. Gagawa na naman tayo ng record. Pero attorney,
po.
did you see this happening? That it's a possibility that the country will be facing?
Well, we never contemplated that, says in
Scenario,
in the House. I was the majority floor leader at that time when this matter was being discussed. So, hindi ko po makita na sabay po sila, no? Kasi nakita po namin na impeach ang presidente, papalit ang vice-presidente. But kung sabay po, medyo beyond our wildest imagination at that time.
What about, attorney, na-imagine nyo ba dati na ganito ka-heavily politicized possibly magyari, no? Ang isa around on impeachment, a certain impeachment from what we saw last year to what we're seeing this year. Did you guys, as the framers in 1987, think, well, baka pala gamitin to heavily ngayong may supermajority, etc.?
Well, always, Sean, ang impeachment ay political, no? Highly politicized. If we study all impeachment complaints, time of Dato Macapagal, tapos kay President Marcos, kay President GMA, kay Joseph Estrada, highly politicized po, no? Talaga pong voting along party lines at involved po ang public sa prosesong ito. So this will be highly politicized like all other impeachment complaints involving the highest public officials of the land.
Attorney, I wanted to go back dun sa possible impeachment complaint against Vice President Sara Duterte because before this goes to Congress, nauna na po yung mga ilang complaint before the Ombudsman, among them plunder complaints. How crucial is it, or how crucial is the investigation of the Ombudsman? I understand he can make recommendations to Congress. Mas strengthen ba nun yung impeachment case proceedings against an impeachable official?
Pauline, separate po yung ombudsman proceeding dito po sa impeachment complaint. At issue po dito sa impeachment complaint ay yung removal from public office and disqualification. Sa ombudsman po ay criminal offense, meaning conviction and imprisonment. So magkaiba po. According to the complainants dun sa first plunder case filed against Sara Duterte sa ombudsman, one of the complainants was quoted as saying, the same evidence that was used in the impeachment complaint in the House ay ginagamit po namin dito po sa Ombudsman. So magkahiwalay na proseso po ang dalawa. At ang purpose po ay magkaiba rin.
But can it strengthen the case of, we are going ahead of the story here, but they have already, several groups have announced that they will file an impeachment complaint against the Vice President. Can the Ombudsman present his findings, his assessment to the Justice Committee, for instance?
Well, that can be a reference, a source by the Committee on Justice. These are government institutions, so pwede pong gamitin po kung ano man ang findings. But this is not conclusive, no? Itong findings ng Ombudsman, depende pa rin sa Committee on Justice whether or not may merit po ang findings ng Ombudsman.
Some critics kasi are saying, attorney, no, na itong mga nag-file nga sa ombudsman ng 2 plunder complaint, kumbaga plan B daw or backup plan in case mag-fall through, in case something happens to that MR with the Supreme Court. So, if we look at it, for example, as a plan B, how, I know this is super hypothetical, but how would it play out? Let's say may nahanap yung ombudsman na probable cause. Paano po yung proseso nun? Ipapasa niya to who exactly in the lower house?
Ang proseso po sa ombudsman, iba yung proseso sa ombudsman ho muna. Doon pa na-file ang complaint and then from ombudsman to Sandigan Bayan. Iba ho yung proseso, you have to follow the rules of evidence according to the rules of court. Dito po sa Kongreso, they are not bound by the rules of court. Kahit na yung quantum of evidence, iba po eh. If the congressmen are satisfied or the senators are satisfied, that would be enough to convict, no? Kahit hindi beyond reasonable doubt or substantial evidence. So magkaiba po yung proseso at magkaiba po yung paggamit ng ebidensya and the rules to be followed in the Ombudsman or Sandigan Bayan and in the Congress of the Philippines.
So kumbaga, mas court procedure talaga pag dumaan dun sa ombudsman, which might be a little bit, well, obviously less politicized and maybe a little bit more quote-unquote fair, attorney?
Well, they can be both fair, no? Kahit na ombudsman or House of Representatives. Ang pagkakaiba po ng dalawa, quasi-judicial po ang ating ombudsman. Parang fiscal's office po sila, no? So may susundin pong proseso po. Dito po sa House of Representatives, again, it's a political process. Although sabi ni Justice Leonen, still within the bounds of the Constitution like the Bill of Rights, kaya lang mas relax po sa House ang proseso kaysa sa Ombudsman or Sandigan Bayan.
Attorney, what about the archived impeachment complaint in the Senate? Is that dead? Can that be revived?
Okay. Well, ang sabi po ng ating Korte Suprema sa kasong Sara Duterte versus House, void ab initio. From the very beginning, that is null in void. That is constitutionally infirm. So, pag naging final po ang decision ng Korte Suprema, talagang panibago pong complaint ang ifa-file. Ngayon, halimbawa po, na grant yung motion for reconsideration, ibig sabihin po, pwedeng i-revive kasi hindi po ba invalid yung proseso. So, depende po yan sa decision ng ating Korte Suprema.
Okay. Now, enlighten us on the timeline naman of the Supreme Court. Bakit po ang tagal na magdesisyon na magkaroon ng finality itong decision nila dito?
Medyo may katagalan po nga. Tama po kayo, Ces, ano? Although they have 12, if I'm not mistaken, 12 months to rule on a case, to decide on a case. But since this is a case of national importance, I think the Supreme Court has the obligation to finish this once and for all, whether to grant the motion for it. There are 5 motions for reconsideration, whether to grant them or not, dapat po aksyonan ng ating Korte Suprema.
Attorney, going back to the impeachment complaints, if the Justice Committee does find sufficient form and substance, in the case of the impeachment of President Bongbong Marcos, they will be inviting the President himself to air his side and to give an explanation, but it's up to, he has the prerogative kung magpapakita man siya o hindi. Ano po magiging implication nun, Attorney, in case they don't show up before the lower house or the Justice Committee?
Well, the case can proceed, no? Although sinasabi sa rules may cross-examination. Meaning, yung taong involved should be cross-examined. Dapat haharap siya, no? That's the meaning of cross-examination. Hindi po pwedeng affidavit. But we have to consider that he's the president of the land. He's the commander-in-chief. So, he has so many pressing responsibilities. So, yan po that has to be weighed by the Committee on Justice, whether to compel him or not, no? So again, this is a case of first impression, whether to compel the presence of the president. So yan po ang isang issue na tatakil ng ating Committee on Justice.
What is your own thought?
Okay, my own thought on this is that, well, if there's nothing to hide, the president has nothing to hide. At kung talagang the allegations are baseless, no, for the sake of justice and transparency, I think the president has to appear.
Okay, and because impeachment is very, very political, as we have been saying since the beginning of this chat, Attorney, kung i-dismiss nung House Justice Committee itong complaint for lack of form and substance or both, that's it for a year.
That's correct. That's correct. So we have to wait for 1 more year to file another complaint against the president because of the 1-year bar rule under the Constitution. So tayo pa ay maghihintay muna. Yung kay Sara naman, ang sabi ng Supreme Court, wait until February 6 to file another complaint in case the motion for recon is denied.
Pero kung umusad naman pareho, attorney, paano yan? We will have 2 impeached officers, the highest of the land.
You are very correct. Very correct.
So who will be
yes.
in the hierarchy of succession? It will be the Senate president. Tama po ba?
Hindi pa ho set. Kasi this is impeachment. Ibig sabihin impeachment, charged pa lang sila. Wala pang trial and conviction. They remain in office unless they are until they are convicted
Right.
by the Senate. So they remain as president and vice president
Though impeached, yeah.
until convicted.
Right.
And if that happens, what then should the Senate President Tito Soto do? I know, big hypothetical again. Should he recuse himself? Because
Oo nga, he will benefit,
he might be accused at least of that.
Yun, if that happens, na-convict po yung dalawa. Meaning, sila po itatanggalin. In terms of succession under the Constitution, the Senate President ang mauunang successor.
Yeah.
Kung walang Senate President, the Speaker of the House. Yung third po, Congress has to meet in a special session to find out who will be the next president or vice president or hold a special election.
Very interesting times, ano po, attorney?
Very interesting times, exciting times are only in the Philippines.
Pasensya na, attorney, pinag-recite namin kayo ng kehaba-haba. Kayo ang professor, kayo ang humihingi ng recitation, but the tables were turned. We thank you for your insights.
I'm deeply honored, Ces, Pauline, and Shawn. The ladies, maraming salamat po.
That was Attorney Rene Sarmiento, one of the framers of our Constitution.
All right, moving on to other news. The House Committee on Suffrage and Electoral Reforms has begun talks on banning political dynasties. Present in the discussion today were representatives from civil society organizations, deans of leading law schools, framers of the 1987 Constitution, and 4 former Supreme Court justices. Political dynasty is not allowed under the Constitution, but there is no enacting law for it. At the moment, there are at least 20 anti-dynasty bills pending in both the House and Senate. Akbayan Party List Representative Percy Sandanya lamented how the measure has languished in Congress for almost 4 decades, a sentiment Speaker Boji D shares.
Sa panukalang anti-political dynasty bill ay matagal nang hinihintay ng sambayanang Pilipino. It has been close to 40 years since our Constitution was ratified with a provision intended to guarantee equal access to opportunities for public service.
Once a law is passed, the Commission on Elections will draft implementing rules and regulations to ensure candidates will abide by the anti-dynasty rule.
Your law may not be questioned before the Supreme Court, but our IRR may be questioned before the Supreme Court. But if we will fail to really see what is the intent of Congress, we will be charged with grave abuse of discretion amounting to lack or excess of jurisdiction. Hindi rin namin po maipapatupad. So dapat po brief, broad, definite.
Now, over at the Senate, the call is for a gradual banning of political dynasties. Senate President Tito Soto wants the law implemented first at the local level, meaning mayors, vice mayors, and councilors cannot be relatives. For his part, Senate President Pro Tempore Ping Lacson wants the ban to start at the provincial level.
Political dynasty, there will be a hearing soon para yung anti-political dynasty ma-prioritize.
Huwag natin bigla, open muna natin na magkaroon na ng batas for political dynasty. Which to me is reasonable, practical.
Meantime, Batangas 1st District Congressman Leandro Leviste believes the Philippines is under what he calls de facto martial law. The neophyte lawmaker posted a 1-minute video last night. He accused President Marcos of silencing critics, just like what his father Ferdinand Sr. did during his 2-decade dictatorship.
Pilipinas ngayon ay nasa ilalim ng de facto martial law. Hindi man deklarado, pero nararamdaman. Marami ay tahimik dahil sa takot na makasuhan, dahil nakikita na ang mga kritiko ng administrasyon ang mga unang sinasampahan ng kaso habang ang ibang mga kaalyado ay hinahayaan.
Recall that Leviste came out with documents showing DPWH projects and funds assigned to legislative districts. The files allegedly came from the late Public Works Undersecretary Maria Catalina Cabral. Since his so-called expose, Leviste has been accused of forcibly taking the files, while his solar energy project has been the subject of scrutiny. Malacanang was asked to comment on Leviste's latest statement.
Not all wrong opinions deserve a response from the palace. Yun lang.
One of Leviste's supporters, Senator Ping Lacson, is not taking the young congressman's side this time around.
Wala ko nakitang gano'n. Alam mo yung, di ba siya nga nag-file ng complaint? Libel? O, kung de facto martial law, siya yung papailan ng complaint, di ba? Ako ay, malimit ako nag-agree sa kanya, no? Sa kanyang raw courage, yung kanyang principles, pero this time, pero natalbi.
There is one lawmaker that backed the de facto martial law statement. Suspended Cavite Congressman Kiko Barsaga told Leviste, and we quote, "Great speech, bro."
Just gonna take a quick break, but coming up, the Justice Department says subpoenas have been sent to a sitting and former senator and a former DPWH secretary. That's still over the flood control scandal. We have details when the big story returns. Keep it here on One News.
You're watching the big story here on One News. The lead counsel of former President Rodrigo Duterte claims his client was denied due process by the International Criminal Court. The ICC pretrial Chamber 1 rejected on Monday the argument that Duterte was not medically fit to stand trial. In a statement, defense lawyer Nicholas Kaufman expressed disappointment over the ruling, saying they were denied the opportunity to present their own medical evidence. He said they were not allowed as well to question the findings of professionals selected by the judges to assess Duterte. As such, they are inclined to appeal the ruling.
The chamber based its ruling on the unanimous conclusion of a panel of 3 court-appointed medical experts who evaluated Duterte last year. The chamber also specifically rejected the defense's request for an evidentiary hearing to cross-examine those experts, calling it unnecessary. This is following the ruling, the confirmation of charges hearing for Duterte has been set for February 23. This hearing will determine if the trial could proceed based on evidence from prosecution that Duterte committed crimes against humanity as charged. For her part, Vice President Sara Duterte seems resigned to the recent ICC ruling, declaring her father fit for trial.
I think part naman na siya sa process, no? Madugay na nato na siya gihulat. So, ang family, wala pa mi nakadiscuss og statement. We should come out with a statement, pero unya na lang namot siguro istoryahan.
Meantime, the ICC has formally authorized the participation of victims in the case against former President Rodrigo Duterte. It has appointed a common legal team to represent their interests. In the 15-page decision, the chamber approved victims proven to have direct link to the killings in Davao when Duterte was still mayor and the nationwide killings when he was president. ICC-accredited lawyers Joel Butuyan and Gilbert Andres have been appointed as common legal representatives for the victims. There will also be an attorney appointed by the Office of Public Counsel for Victims. Butuyan and Andres have both expressed availability and willingness to participate in the trial.
And to discuss these recent developments from the ICC, we have with us Attorney Neri Colmenares, chairperson of Bayan and lawyer to some Duterte drug war victims. Good evening and welcome to the show, Attorney Neri.
Good evening, Ces, and the rest of your hosts. Good evening to your viewers.
Pauline and Shawn po. So,
hi, Pauline. How's Shawn?
Yes. The confirmation of charges hearing, sa tingin nyo nakataga na ba yan sa bato because gustong mag-MR ang defense lawyer po?
Yes, it's set on February 23, and notwithstanding their promise to file another appeal, I think the court will no longer postpone it. They were given a long postponement. September 23 pa yan. 2025. They asked for a postponement, indefinite postponement. And for us, that is nothing more than just a means to avoid going to trial. Because we're sure that President Duterte has no evidence to present that will show that he has nothing to do with the drug war if a trial ensues. So yeah, I guess that's their third appeal, if ever, because they appealed the interim release. They appealed the jurisdiction issue, and now they're going to appeal the fit for trial decision. So, if they really, an accused says, Sean, Pauline, if you're innocent kasi, you want speedy trial. You don't want to delay it because the longer you delay it, you're in prison. But in this case, they're delaying the trial. So hopefully this is the first step and the trial will ensue.
Kamusta naman ang reaksyon ng mga victims' families, some of whom are your clients?
Yes, natuwa siyempre ang mga biktima kasi noon pa nila sinasabi nung September 23 postponement pa lang, bakit pa? Bakit i-delay, no? So anyway, pre-trial confirmation of charges pa nga lang. Sabi namin, wala pa ngang trial, unfit for trial na. Tapos pangalawa, nanalo sila doon o pinuspone, tagal na, ilang buwan na yon. And now natuwa sila na may decision ang pre-trial chamber ng ICC na ituloy na ang confirmation of charges and hopefully ma-confirm ang charges. We only need one confirmed charge for us to go to trial in this case.
And about a week ago, Attorney Colmenares, nag-call for more witnesses itong ICC. They published this call on their website and I believe this was targeted towards police witnesses. Of course, Attorney Kaufman has decried this, but would you know if this is a normal thing na medyo dapat kasado na gumagalaw na, di ba? Ang intindi natin is plakado na yung kaso. Why would there be this call published on the website?
It's not prohibited, and in fact, it's not abnormal. But what I think, my analysis there is that down there going for the subordinates. They're going now for the subordinates. The case against President Duterte is very strong. They need police and other witnesses, not just police, in order to pinpoint the subordinates. Meaning to say, because in the statement of Fatou Bensouda Allah, noon pa man in the confirmation doon sa initial preliminary examination niya, she said, ang involvement ng subordinates dito, hindi lang yung si President Duterte and of course yung national PNP, kundi it goes even down to the regional, provincial, and district or city police units. So yeah, I guess this is the purpose now of the second call. If there are police officers who want to testify against their superiors who committed these crimes or order them to commit these crimes, then the ICC wants to go over these subordinates.
And what is the implication now that there's a date already, Feb 23, and more or less that's finally matutuloy na? Ano yung implication nito on the subordinates? Should we expect that their warrants would be more forthcoming because nakasana yung schedule?
For instance, Bato de la Rosa. What will Senator Bato de la Rosa?
May 11 na kasi na na-mention dati na redacted natin alam mong sino yon. So malamang at magtago na si Senator Bato, so siguro nandun siya sa mayroon ng posibilidad na warrant. Ito naman yung additional witnesses. Ito yung mga subordinates na pwede ring isama sa kaso later on. So notwithstanding the confirmation of charges kay President Duterte, mag-undergo rin ng confirmation of charges. Siyempre, itong mga others na ma-commit na fully, if there are certain acts or other charges na ma-file against them. So, yeah, it will not delay. It should not delay. If the ICC is going to go after the subordinates, yung mga regional commanders, and there are regional commanders na medyo liable or pwedeng kasuhan doon, yeah, I guess it will also continue parallel to the Duterte trial.
Just to be clear, a quick follow-up. Would these cases against the subordinates be the same case against President Duterte, or will this be fresh cases against them of a lesser degree?
Yes, well, we don't know if they will be charged under the DCC, under the charges now against President Duterte. Pwede naman kasi President Duterte is an indirect perpetrator, meaning to say, he is a perpetrator, but the one who pulled the trigger is somebody else. That's the definition of indirect perpetrator. So, ibig sabihin, nandun siya, pwedeng nandun sila, or pwedeng mahiwalay. Hiwalay talaga na kaso ang mga ito. So in any case, ang kay President Duterte na confirmation of charges at trial can continue notwithstanding na may mga ilan pa na pwedeng kasuhan either separately or within the context ng kanyang mga kaso.
Let's go back to the confirmation of charges hearing. That is just a usual procedure. We don't expect anything. Can you walk us through what will happen there?
Well, unlike sa atin na pag ang piskal may probable cause, ang i-file niya na agad sa korting information, di ba, dito sa atin. Sa ICC, grabe kasi ang mga due process rights nila para sa accused. Kaya ang prosecutor, they found probable cause, reasonable cause. So nag-file na siya ng document containing the charges. Yun ang tawag sa parang kumbaga information, DCC. Ngayon, pero sabi ng ICC, teka muna, hindi ibig sabihin nag-file ka ng DCC, tuloy na yung trial. No, i-confirm muna namin yung charges. So kung ma-confirm namin ang charges at may reasonable grounds to believe na kinumit niya yung crime, then we will have trial. And President Duterte will be the first Asian to be tried in the ICC. So, yun. Doon sa order ng court, sabi niya, o di i-confirm yung charges, ano ba ang ebidensya mo dito? Reasonable ba na ground na sabihin na siya ang gumawa niyan? At within the, crimen yan sa jurisdiction ng court, syempre. Pangalawa, ang second na hiningi ng ng korte, sabi niya, mag-file kayo ng submission. The defense, of course, can file submission kung excluded sila sa criminal charges. Ano ibig sabihin niyan? That's under Rule 31 kasi ng Rules of Procedure ng ICC. Ibig sabihin, they can claim na wala kaming kasalanan in the sense dahil una, self-defense yun. I don't think President Duterte will say self-defense yun. Pangalawa, may mental disease ako na hindi ko na ma-appreciate yung unlawfulness ng ginawa ko. I don't think they'll claim that. Ang third, under duress. Inutukan ako ng baril kaya nagawa ko yung krimen. I don't think President Duterte will claim that. And lastly, intoxication. That's the fourth element of Article of Rule 31. So I don't even think they'll claim intoxicated siya when he ordered the war on drugs. So I don't think that will be a major issue in the confirmation of charges.
Attorney, balikan ko lang po one thing you mentioned earlier, no? And that's you only need one charge to be confirmed by the ICC judges. What elements are needed? And sa tingin niyo po, alin sa mga complaint ang may pinakamalakas na basis to get a confirmation?
Una muna, yun ang basis na ng prosecutor. Itong krimen ay nagawa within the jurisdiction of the court at reasonable ground ako na maniwala si President Duterte is guilty doon sa krimen na yon. Anong pinakamalakas sa akin? Yung tatlong charges malakas Kasi napakalakas. Ang charges kasi na yon contains the charges ng acts niya when he was, of course, mayor at acts niya when he became president. All this, para sa akin, yung tatlo cases of murder are very strong. So, wala talaga. In fact, sabi ko nga, kahit ikaw pang pinakamagaling na abogado sa buong mundo, pag ikaw ang abogado ni President Duterte, anong ebidensyang ipipresent mo para sabihin sa korte, wala akong kinalaman sa war on drugs. After all, he mentioned, he ordered the killings, he encouraged the killings and everything.
We're running out of time. We have a lot of questions still. Can he waive his appearance, former President Duterte?
Yes, he can. If he feels, he can say na hindi ako pwede. So he can waive it. Basta may counsel siya doon. Yun naman ang requirement ng ICC.
Okay. And also on the impeachment complaint filed against President BBM, you don't have the numbers. So how do you think, what is the aim here?
No, actually yung impeachment is an accountability mechanism. Yung pagbilang ng ilan ba ang boto nito, hindi yan tungkulin o trabaho na ng citizen who filed the verified complaint. Ang reklamo lang ng impeachment complaint, may nawalang mga pera, sana naman ma-account ito o may kasalanan ka ba dito. And we hope that the members of the Justice Committee will decide on the merits. It's not true that impeachment is purely a political process. It is political merely because among the decision dyan ng mga elected people, not a court, but in terms of decision, it should be based on basic standards of justice and the merits of the case.
And it will be your complaint will have sufficiency in substance, you believe? You establish the evidence that will prove na merong betrayal of public trust?
Well, ang requirement lang sa substance, form okay na yan. Verified naman yung complaint, may nag-endorse. Yung substance naman, ultimate facts lang eh. So para sa amin, yung ultimate facts, more than ultimate facts na ina-allege namin eh. In fact, may mga dokumento, may mga, di ba, may mga sworn statements sa mga hearings. I think we've heard even substance eh. So I really hope na pag matuloy ito and may substance at may form, and then there will be a process na of hearing doon sa Justice Committee where the respondent will be asked to anong comment mo, anong reply mo dito sa verification, and then we can present our evidence.
All right, marami pong salamat. Thank you for talking to us, Attorney Nery Colmenares.
And now moving on to another story, the Justice Department has issued subpoenas for Senator Jinggoy Estrada, detained former Senator Bong Revilla, and former DPWH Secretary Manuel Bonoan. This is part of the preliminary investigation over the plunder cases filed against them by the NBI related to the flood control scandal. Their hearings are set on February 2 and 12, according to DOJ spokesperson Attorney Polo Martinez. As for contractors Sara and Curly Descaya, they will face 2 tax evasion charges stemming from incorrect information filed on their tax declaration forms. The Justice Department will file the cases before the Court of Tax Appeals and will discuss these charges in detail tomorrow.
Moving on now to updates on detained suspects. Bong Revilla has now been transferred to the general population of the new Quezon City Jail male dormitory in Payatas. The former senator has already completed his 7-day medical quarantine. Revilla's family says he is eating and sleeping well, but is having a difficult time adjusting to detention.
He's coping, and so mahirap lang din po sa amin, and it's hard for me to also express how I really feel because the hard position to be in right now.
Meantime, some relatives of persons deprived of liberty or PDLs are happy that Revilla is now in a regular cell.
Ngayon po kami sa ganong isasama siya sa mga ordinaryong mga PDL kasi para maranasan din niya kung paano rin yung mga ginagawa nila dyan. Walang special para sa PDL na nakakulong.
Laging sinasabi nila walang BIP. Bakit ibukod pa sila kung walang BIP? Para malaman rin nila kung ano kahirap, mahirap din na ihalo sa lahat.
You're still watching The Big Story on One News. Up next, the verbal exchange between Filipino lawmakers and Chinese envoys is now on a whole new level. It is shaping up to be a diplomatic nightmare. The details when we return. Keep it here.
The Big Story is back with several senators calling for sanctions against Chinese diplomats involved in a word war with Philippine government officials. Senator J.V. Ejercito wants Chinese Ambassador Qing Quan replaced. Senate President Tito Soto has also floated the idea of declaring embassy deputy spokesperson Kuo Wei as persona non grata.
Before anything else, allow me to first associate myself with the manifestations of the principal sponsor, Senator Pangilinan, and the other sponsors and our colleagues. I suggest that we study the possibility of declaring that particular person a persona non grata. And that is very, very serious when the Senate does that. So I suggest that the Committee on Rules study the possibility.
The row has also sparked a debate at the Senate over a resolution to condemn the actions of Chinese embassy officials. 15 senators have expressed support for the resolution, and those who did not have cautioned against it. Senate Minority Leader Alan Peter Cayetano has proposed a committee hearing before adopting the resolution.
I think napakalalim po ng issue na to, and it will be good for us and the public na malaman talaga natin kung anong talagang sinabi ni Commodore Tariela at ano yung palitan ng kuro-kuro.
Tinanong nga ako ng Chinese ambassador, sana man lang o kaya gusto naming mangyari kung paano nyo pinakikitunguhan naman ang Vietnam sapagkat claimant din naman sila, pare-pareho tayong claimant. Sana hindi naman yung paraan na parang kami masyado naman kaming kontrabida.
Gusto pa nila patahimikin kapag may mga pinuno ng gobyerno sa executive man o dito po sa legislature na magrereklamo. Ang tawag ko po dyan, Mr. President, sa ugali ng Chinese government, gaslighting. Sila na nga ang gumagawa ng mali, mamasamain pa nila kapag pinuna ng ating panig, ng ating gobyerno, tayo pa ang may kasalanan.
And here are the other stories making headlines this Tuesday, January 27. The Department of Transportation has suspended all passenger vessels of Allison Shipping Lines following yesterday's sinking of the MV Trisha Kirsten 3 off Basilan. The Philippine Coast Guard and Maritime Industry Authority have 15 days to conduct a maritime safety audit of the company's vessels and crew. The PCG is continuing its search and rescue operations for the 10 still missing passengers, including the ship's captain and some crew members. The death toll from the tragedy has risen to 18. One thing that the PCG discovered from yesterday's aerial surveillance of the incident site was a thin oil sheen on the sea's surface. But no immediate response is needed because this has minimal environmental impact and will naturally vanish due to evaporation and wave action.
And on another development, a power interruption is scheduled at NAIA Terminal 3 from 11 tonight to 3 a.m. tomorrow as part of ongoing electrical upgrades. Flights will proceed as scheduled and essential services like check-in, immigration, and security screening will be operational through temporary power. As for non-essential facilities like boarding bridges, escalators, and elevators, they will be unavailable for the time being.
We argue na essential yung elevator.
Yes! Non-essential yun.
How are you supposed to bring all your luggage?
Diba?
Yeah,
You
or
have to
if
pay a porter.
if you're a senior citizen.
With all our balikbayan moksas.
I was about to say though that the human hair boom is needed in Basilan, even if it's a thin.
Even if it's just a bit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I agree.
Diba?
Okay, and on that note, that's it for the Big Story this last Tuesday of the month. Thank you so much for watching.
We are back here tomorrow at 8 p.m. See you then.
On the last Wednesday.
Tomorrow and Thursday.
And the last Friday.
Kapatid, we are One News, all sides, all the time. Have a good night.